You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
King County is trying to figure out, do we want to repeal the bicycle helmet law? That's literally what we're talking about today. Why are we, and King County is the county that I'm recording this podcast for you. It's got Seattle, all the big cities in Western Washington located in King County. So we're just gonna start throwing out safety laws left and right because they apparently are unfairly enforced and they target people of color. That's what we're talking about. Why are we talking about that in the Seattle Real Estate Podcast? Well, laws kind of make up the way that people within a community interact, and it makes up that community. You start taking away a bunch of laws, that definitely impacts people, impacts real estate, impacts the way things go in a big scheme sort of picture, right? That's why we're talking about it. If you're new here, my name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies, and I read the news. We talk about it. All right, let's jump on in. So King County considers whether to repeal the bicycle helmet law. I don't know. As a parent, I'm kind of like, what? Now, why would you do that? Because one of those things, when your kids ask you, or when your kids run out the door and you're like, hey, do you have your helmet? And they're like, no, you have to. It's the law. And if it's no longer the law, it's just something you should do inherently for the safety of your own head. I mean, you take a whack on your head on the concrete, so many people die. They don't necessarily die from being hit in the face, but when their head hits the concrete or hits the curb, that's when they die. So it's that skull to impact on concrete or asphalt, any given hard surface, that is a no-go. And I just can't believe that we're going to throw out a bicycle helmet law. I am a hard no-go on this one. Having young kids that are now in their 20s and late 20s, you kind of get to that point where you're like, whew, I got them through all that stuff and they're still alive and only a handful of stitches and broken bones and whatnot. To have this kind of thing go on, repeal a bicycle helmet law. All right. I guess we got to read this one. The King County Board of Health is reviewing the law after concerns it is unfairly enforced and targets people of color. All right, let's agree that helmets are still good. Helmets are good. They protect your skull. If you have a chance to wear a helmet during any activity that's considered dangerous, I would say wear that helmet. This is common sense. You don't repeal a law because it's unfairly enforced. You figure out how to enforce it fairly. Maybe give out some free helmets. We're going to talk about that. Give out some free helmets. Do whatever you got to do. Keep the law. This is stupid. All right. The King County Board of Health is looking into whether it should repeal the county's bicycle helmet law after concerns it unfairly enforces and targets people of color. Central Seattle Greenways, a group advocating for safer streets, started researching the law last year in the wake of nationwide protests over racial inequality. They're advocating for safer streets. And one of the things that we know, if you're writing any kind of thing that isn't enclosed, if you're writing anything on a hard surface, a helmet is a good idea. We found that black cyclists have been cited disproportionately for not wearing a helmet at 4 times the rate of white cyclists. So a really stark disparity, said Ethan Campbell, who leads the Helmet Law Working Group. Latino and Indigenous cyclists were also cited at higher rates, and Crosscut reported that nearly half of all recent citations went to homeless people. Okay, it doesn't matter who they go to. You still got to have the law on the books because it saves people's lives. That's where I'm kind of at on this one. Are we really going to go down this road? It is against that backdrop that the King County Board of Health is now reviewing the law. If this helmet law is having the unintended effect of actually harming public health, all right, harming public health. No, it might be harming something else, but it's not harming public health. Through criminalization, that's something we should take a look at and take very seriously. We're just on the bandwagon of looking at everything and seeing if there's some racial inequity in any of these given situations. A helmet on a bicycle or a helmet on, how about this, on a skateboard? I'm going to read a bonus article after this one on today's podcast. And I think you're going to be like, yeah, wear the damn helmet, right? To be clear, and whether or not the law gets repealed, wear the damn helmet. To be clear, no one involved in the county discussion is saying helmets are bad. Okay. How about seatbelts? Seatbelt law. Let's take a look at that one. If too many people shouldn't be getting tickets for not wearing a seatbelt, do we get rid of the seatbelt? Let's just get rid of seatbelts. You know what I mean? It's like, where are we headed with this? This is craziness. We strongly support, so to be clear, no one involved in the county discussion is saying helmets are bad. We strongly support helmet use, said Campbell, noting the primary concern is enforcement. We know that helmets reduce your likelihood of being injured in a crash pretty substantially. No kidding. You got to keep the law on because it's that backdrop of it's the law. Okay. And say you get a citation. All right. You're not dead. And now you should be wearing your helmet. Maybe next time you're not wearing your helmet, which you should be doing anyway, whether there's a law on it or not, wear the helmet. It might save your life. Put a helmet on your kid's head. It might save their life. Put a helmet on anybody's head. It's kind of like going out in the water on a jet ski or a Sea-Doo and not wearing a life vest. It's the law. You wear a life vest to save your life. It's okay. It'll be all right. You tip that thing, bang your head, go in the water. I'm sure it'll work out just fine. Yesterday here in King County, we had 2 people die in the water. A lake down south and a lake right here in Kirkland. People die. You don't have a life vest on, people die. You don't have a helmet on, people die. Crash, brains come out of your head. Not good. This one seems to be so egregiously disproportionately applied, I think it does demand our attention, talking about the enforcement. A helmet law violation in King County adds up to $104 in fines and court fees, Campbell said. Yeah, but it might save your life. What's that worth? You know what I mean? All right, yeah, I got a fine. I'm going to wear my helmet next time. How is this shocking? Tacoma repealed its bike helmet law late last year after similar concerns about unfair enforcement. In place of a helmet law, bike advocates are pushing for increased education, free helmets, and safer streets. Okay, add that to keeping the law in place. I don't know. This has become silly. Just because a certain group doesn't follow the law, does that mean you get rid of the law? Apparently, that is what we're doing. That's what we're doing. I don't know. What are the statistics of people who crash and are not wearing their helmet versus people who crash and do wear their helmet? Injuries, what's the cost to the public for that, for having to take care of people, having to hospitalize people, having people that are immobilized for the rest of their life because they don't have a helmet on and they just rattled their brain because they were going 20, 30, 40 miles an hour on their bike, whatever it is. You can be doing 10 miles an hour. And if you plow into, a power pole or, stop sign, any inanimate object that isn't going to move when you put your head to it, those are things you got to consider. Just get rid of the law. Just get rid of the law. That's kind of more where we're headed, right? All right. So there's that. And then I want to just throw this one in there. Mother wants son's death to change skateboard helmet stigma in Washington. So here we've got the polar opposite going on, right? And you can kind of tell where this one's headed. Barrett Worth Crossley, age 13, died following a skateboard fall in Buckley. Buckley is down south. It's in Pierce County, county next to King County. The mother of a 13-year-old Buckley boy hopes her son's death will change a longtime stigma against wearing helmets while skateboarding. And you could apply this to biking or to the proposed removal of the helmet law. For the past year, Barrett Worth Crossley found the perfect way to spend his COVID-19 days, skateboarding at the Buckley Skate Park. When he didn't have school, he would be there 10 hours if he could be, said Mother Lorraine Crossley. You all know those kids. I mean, Tim Pool was one of those kids, just a lot of skateboarding. If you're into skateboarding, it's awesome. It's fun. I had a skateboard. I bugged my dad to get me this cool skateboard I saw at 7-Eleven. And I bugged my dad. I remember putting a note on his steering wheel of his car, get me the skateboard, because he had committed to doing so. And I got it, and I still have it to this day. It was to promote the movie Jaws when it first came out. So what year is that? 1977, 1978, something like that. So skateboards were just coming out of California. I really wanted one. So saw one at 7-Eleven promoting Jaws, and so my dad bought it. And it's cool. It's a small, narrow, flat with a tail on the end. So you could do 360s and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's still functional. The bearings still work. It's an awesome skateboard. So I spent a lot of time skateboarding. Did we wear helmets? I know when I started biking a lot, you always just wore a helmet. Just put a helmet on. I always made my kids wear a helmet. We used to have just a bin of helmets. Put a helmet on. Do you have a helmet on? No, put a helmet on. You know, that kind of thing. Just common sense. And yet we're going down these roads of, no, we don't want to see you safe. We just want to see everything equitable. I mean, how about people dying? There's got to be percentages of people dying on this stuff, right? Helmet, no. Helmet, yes. What are the odds between those? You get in a wreck, whatever. So the mom said Barrett designed skateboards and skating related t-shirts and wanted to be a professional skateboarder when he grew up. But earlier this month, Barrett fell while riding his skateboard at the park. He was not wearing a helmet. 4 days later, he died from a subdural hematoma. All right. Not good. Not good. This is the flip side to, hey, are you wearing a helmet? Nah, it's not the law anymore. It's just not that important. All right. Okay. Well, you're 13. I'm sure you're going to make good judgments. Just go ahead and do whatever you want. Having that law in place is kind of one more layer of where things should be, no matter who gets in more tickets. If we got a problem with enforcement, figure that out. I mean, you still got to have these laws in place because they're saving lives. This kid here is a prime example of that, right? As someone who has lost a child because of this, that pain is something I don't want anyone to feel, said LaRae Crossley. Doctors told his mother Barrett likely would have survived the crash with a helmet. Read that again. Doctors told his mother Barrett likely would have survived the crash with a helmet. All right, so let's point out the obvious. You repeal the helmet law. Does that mean people don't wear helmets? No. It doesn't. But does that mean some people will have children who will lose their lives because they go down this road of, it's not the law? Probably. So is that where we want to be as a society? As a parent, I don't really want to see that. I mean, this just makes no sense at all. Laws that save your life, those to me, those are winners. I'm okay with those. The Seattle Real Estate Podcast is okay with laws that save your life. She and friends started a foundation. The mom and her friends started a foundation, Wear It for Barrett, to raise money and awareness about the benefits of wearing a helmet. State Representative Dan Griffin is a Mason County firefighter and EMT. I've seen way too many kiddos pass away, said Griffin, who said Barrett's story could help convince lawmakers to reapprove $20,000 in grant funding for first responders to buy and disperse helmets to children across the state. I'm totally on board with that. You want to spend some money on some helmets and hand them out? Hey, fantastic. Go do that. If there's neighborhoods where kids are known to just not wear a helmet, go there, tell them to wear a helmet, give them a cool helmet. That's something that they're proud to wear. It's kind of like kids, if they have just a plain mask, they don't want to wear it, and you give them a really cool mask that makes them look like a villain or something. I'm going to wear my fancy mask. It's basic psychology. Hand out some cool helmets. Let the kids wear some helmets. So we've got this thing of King County, we're just going to repeal that, to, all right, we're going to spend $20,000 in grant funding for first responders to buy and disperse helmets to children across the state because it saves lives. Griffin got the money approved in the 2020 legislative session following the story of a Seattle man, Riker Aiden Schellings. Schellings, an experienced skateboarder, nearly died following a crash at Green Lake in Seattle. He suffered a traumatic brain injury and was not wearing a helmet. I mean, is this just so wildly obvious that we're kind of missing something here? I don't feel like we are, but if a law is in place that saves lives, I don't know. That's a tricky one. It's not. Just keep it in place. I don't want to see any more family tragedies, and if we can really just change the mindset is what we have to do, said Griffin. Barrett's mother said anything to increase helmet use is a good idea. All right, this is somebody who has lost her kid. I mean, her kid's dead. Horrible. You should never outlive your kids. That's, one of those death and taxes and don't outlive your kids. That's kind of one of those things. And when those things, when you outlive your kid, it's because something horrible happened and life's timing just wasn't the way it should have been for you as a parent. But something like this that could have been avoided, how much does Barrett's mother kick herself? Does she tell herself, well, if I would have made him wear that helmet? And I know it's not cool to wear a helmet. I don't like wearing a helmet. I mean, they're kind of sweaty. They crush your whatever hairdo you have going on. And if you put them on tight, you get a chin strap around your chin. But the flip side of that is that you might live if you crash your bike. You might live if you crash your scooter. You might live if you crash your skateboard. Those are good things. Living, good. Dying, bad. Being in a wheelchair, bad. Incapacitated in any way due to a crash, bad. So I don't want to see any more family tragedies. And if we can really just change the mindset is what we have to do, said Griffin. Barrett's mother said anything to increase helmet use is a good idea. It's a stigma of, I don't want to look uncool, said Lorraine crossly. I don't want to break that stigma. No one's too cool for brain damage. And then we've got a YouTube video of the kid who did live but had major brain damage. I mean, he is just in a bed with a helmet on, and he's a paraplegic, it looks like. And nobody wants to see their kid that way, but at least he's alive. At least he's made it. This other one, Barrett Worth Crossley, he didn't make it. His mom and dad's around, we don't know. How much do they wish that they could have just put a helmet on their 13-year-old son, have him skateboard away? Yep, maybe he has a concussion, but he doesn't die. That's the other side is concussions. I mean, we're so concerned about our NFL players and their, history of concussions, and yet you let your kid run outside on a skateboard and he's going to ride. The thing about skateboarding, you're going to ride on a flat, hard surface. Because off-roading with a skateboard, unless you've got those big, huge, gnarly wheels, that's not going to work. You need a hard surface. I was watching Aussie Man Reviews. Those are some funny videos. And he was watching skateboarders. Were they skateboarders? No, they were rollerbladers. And they're going on this sidewalk, just going. And then there's a 2-section of the sidewalk that is gravel. Guess what happened? I mean, they go down. So whenever you're skateboarding, you're on hard surface because that's where skateboard wheels do better. Your head comes in contact with said hard surface. That's a no-go. So this whole thing with King County, I think, needs to be addressed from a different direction. You need to keep that law on the books because laws on the books that save lives. I mean, this to me is this is a no-brainer. Figure out how to enforce them more fairly, if that's a thing. Maybe give out more warnings. I don't know, but keep the darn law in place because this is it's truly becoming silliness. Let's think of other things that maybe we should get rid of. Seatbelts in cars. Let's get rid of those. Safeties on guns. Let's get rid of those. Let's see, safety feature. How about let's throw out a safety feature in a home. Pressure relief valve on a hot water tank. We don't need those. Carbon monoxide detectors in homes. No, we don't need those. Because those save lives. Smoke detectors. Throw those out. Throw those right out the window. Just toss them out there. Stop signs. Let's get rid of stop signs. Let's get rid of stop lights. I saw a new stoplight on my way into work this morning. I was like, hey, there's a new stoplight. That's going to add 30 seconds on the wrong day to my traffic route. That sucks. But it was right outside of a school, and they've been working on this school. So it's like, okay, it's outside of a school. Safety orientation. It's important. So what else could we throw out? Just kind of any safety. How about the, if you're working on something electrical, how about safety? Don't operate machinery while taking this medication. Let's get rid of that. Any kind of safety things to do with medicine, throw out the window. Yeah, I'm just randomly throwing out things, ideas here. Does any of that make sense? No, it doesn't. And the flip side, you might say, is, but those aren't enforced disproportionately. Okay, fine, but they're still legit safety things, right? Safety protocols, safety warnings, safety labels, actual safety items, like in the smoke detector. You don't get rid of them because they save lives. You're trying to get rid of them because they're unfairly being enforced against a certain group. Okay, figure out the enforcement. Figure that part out. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think that's the saying. I never really understood that one, but I think it applies here if I'm correct. It's just we're entering into an age of craziness if you think repealing laws on helmets is a good idea. No matter what your reason. It's not a good idea. I mean, keep those helmets in there because kids are brutal with their parents. They just wear their parents down. And so many of the issues with bikes and skateboards and scooters, they happen to young people. And young people at a certain age, they realize, I need to be cool to work my way up in life in general. Wearing a helmet, not cool. But you still got to have that on the books so that parents can say, son, daughter, put your helmet on. Why, Mom? I don't want to. Jimmy's mom lets him ride without a helmet. Well, that's Jimmy's mom's call, and it's the law. And we follow the law. How about that one? How about we throw out that one as parents? It's a good one, right? It's just so basic. It's just why you do things. And yet, too many people are getting tickets for not wearing their helmet, okay? But maybe they're thinking about, oh, right, yep, I got a ticket. I should be wearing a helmet. How about that side of the argument? That there's more, sides. There's more people that are being saved because of ticketing because they're like, yeah, I got to wear my helmet. Even if it's going to cost me a bunch of money, I got to wear a helmet. How about that angle? I don't know. This one just, it seems wildly out of line with logic and reality. And yet this is our reality in 2021 here in King County. Repealing a helmet law. Shocking. So the next time you think about putting that helmet on, put the helmet on. Because this is something that is reasonable. All right. I think I beat reasonable to death here. Does this make sense? I think it does. Wear the helmet. That's all I got on this one. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. But as other ridiculous laws are looking at being repealed because of enforcement, I will carry them for you, whether they're safety related or not. And I did throw out some ideas there that were clearly just ridiculous. I am not saying get rid of a pressure relief valve on a hot water tank. No, I'm not saying get rid of seatbelts or safeties on the triggers of guns. What a horrible idea. Just running around with guns that are loaded and no safeties. And how's that going to work out? I'm going to go out on a limb and say not good. So that's not my point. My point is wear the helmet. Keep the law in place. It makes sense. It's reasonable. Thanks so much for being here. We'll catch up soon. Until then, bye for now. We'll see you soon. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.